Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch and how you can discover this new level of softness with their iconic sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% responded that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They source the rarest 100% organic cotton for an incredible softness to start. Then they skip the toxins and harsh chemicals for a natural feel unlike anything else, and it all comes together with their signature weave. This special design feels buttery, breathable, and unlocks new levels of softness with every wash, and they stand behind their promise of softness. With their 30-night guarantee, you can wash, style, and sleep in their sheets for an entire month. If during the 30 nights, you don't love your sheets or feel them getting softer and softer, you can send them right back. No questions asked. So head to bollandbranch.com for 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. That's BOLL and branch.com. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
My 13-year-old acts like a puppy again. Almost overnight, she's a different dog.
Perfect poops.
When people switch their dog's food to the farmer's dog, the effects can seem like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's simply real meat and vegetables with all the nutrients dogs need, instead of highly processed pellets. No tricks, just smarter, healthier pet food delivered in packs portioned for your dog. It's amazing what real food can do. Get 50% off your first order at thefarmersdog.com/NoMagic50.
This is Kansas State's Cooper Beebe, and you're listening to the Powercat Postgame Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you're subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast provider.
Welcome to the season premiere of the Powercat Postgame Podcast, brought to you by Caddy Shack Golf. Remember, folks, Caddy Shack Golf, where it's caddy with two T's. Visit caddyshackgolf.com for all of your officially licensed golfing Willie apparel, accessories, and more. Use code GPC for free shipping on your next order. Tim Fitzgerald, joined by the old offensive lineman, Brien Hanley. Fresh back from Manhattan, Kansas. Brien, you got to come to the stadium. You got to see your pal Darren Howard go into the Ring of Honor. How cool was it?
And man, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'd never been to I know they don't do them every year, induct people into the Ring of Honor, so I'd never seen one live, and I just thought they did a tremendous job. I mean, Darren was my roommate. We're still best buds, 25 plus years later. It was incredible. Couldn't have been happier.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And I got to talk to him briefly on Friday at the media thing. It was good to see him. What a great group of guys to go in. What an amazing group of players, going all the way back to Larry Brown, the running back, and more current all the way through Colin Klein and Tyler Lockett, and what Arthur Brown was in there, and El Roberson and Darren. What an incredible group. And there's still more that need to go in. It's amazing.
Yep, I love it. I absolutely loved it.
Well, let's get going here. You got to see this one firsthand. It's kind of funny. Sometimes we have to wait for my travel to get back to do this. This time we had to wait for your travel to get back. But you did make it home to Texas.
I did.
And just give me your overall thoughts. Kansas State beats South Dakota 34-0. The Cats are out to 1-0 on the season. We expected them to win. We expected them to win kind of handily. And they did that, but it also wasn't a perfect performance. There was some hiccups along the way. No turnovers, none of that. There wasn't as much polish maybe as we expected, but give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, it's kind of what you said. I mean, the defense kind of did its thing, kind of what we thought they were going to do. They did its thing. The offense, I mean, it was good. I think it was a lot of early season jitters, maybe, dealing with a little bit of expectations that we're supposed to be this. There was some of that you could see. Wasn't what you said. It wasn't super polished. There were things that we have to clean up. I feel like it's a broken record that we've been saying this for 3 years now. We have to get better in the passing game. I just think, to be able to do the things that we're wanting to do. A lot of that was, first game, we're playing pretty vanilla. It is what it is. So people got to kind of overlook that stuff. But I think that we're going to be, I thought it was a great performance. I shouldn't say great. I thought it was a good performance. Let me say that. It was a good performance. get that first game out. We got a better game coming up this week, a bigger game, a much tougher game. So I think it was good to get that out of the way.
Well, in post-game, Adrian Martinez mentioned that, one, they didn't have a lot of deep throwing in the game plan. They didn't really want to put that out there. And also South Dakota was, really playing for the deep ball. They didn't want to get burned. And so they just dumped it underneath constantly. But I think what happened, this is my theory and my theory alone, they got the quick touchdown, one-play score off the Malik Knowles jet sweep. Then they get the block punt, and they're up 14-0. And it's pretty clear at the very get-go of this game, South Dakota didn't come with their A game. That's a good team for the FCS level, and they did not look like that on Saturday. They had a lot of drop passes. They looked ragged at times. Their defense played pretty well, though, but offensively, they just weren't effective. So I think we knew at 14-0 this was not going to be a close game. It'd be the matter of margin defeat. And I almost sensed that Colin Klein went into Bill Snyder mode. Like, okay, we don't need to put anything out there. We don't need to show Missouri a damn thing. And this was interesting. Coach Kleiman said in the postgame press conference, this is an entirely new playbook. So they are not into anything. Well, I'm sure there's some overlaps, but this was a new playbook. They have all new stuff to display, and we didn't see much new stuff. So I am going to be greatly entertained to see what we what they want to put on the field against Missouri next Saturday. But I'll say this. Adrian Martinez made no mistakes. He was 11 of 15 completions, and there was a couple drops in there. And it was all underneath stuff, with one exception of a deep throw to Phillip Brooks that was a little bit off target. Phil could have made the catch maybe, but a little bit off target. They threw everything underneath, and Adrian looked like a guy who's never had pass protection that he could rely on. He just didn't look comfortable. He looked like he wanted out of there all the time because he's so used to running. But then he had that voice and said, no, I got to stay here. You could see him processing too much information, which you can't do as a quarterback. And it just didn't look good. But I think he's going to be fine. I'm really anxious to see what he looks like against a better opponent with more of his playbook at hand.
Well, I think it's just what you said. With more plays in the repertoire to be able to attack, somebody else. And also another thing, Fitz, that we have to remember, these are still kids. Complacency sets in, especially that quick out of the gate. We can drill, but when you get up that quick, that early, that easy, it's pretty easy for kids to put it in the tank.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that they took them lightly. I'm just saying when you get up that quick, that early against a team that you're supposed to manhandle, it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to go through the motions. And it looked like a lot of it, we're just going through the motions. We're better than you. We're going to just kind of work on stuff, do what we do, which you could kind of go back and say that these games are for that technically, but that's what it looked like to me. Just from the outside looking in, it just looked like, hey, we're up. Let's not get hurt. Let's work on the stuff that we need to work on, and let's just get out of here. And that's kind of what it looked like. You're right about Martinez. He held the ball an awful long time sometimes, and just what you said, just trying to process everything. And I think he'll be much better next week when it's just, look, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going. And I just think it'll be a totally different game plan.
And plus, it's hard to get a rhythm when you're playing that many guys. K-State played more than 60 guys. They put a lot of guys on the field. They wanted to do that. They have some young guys they wanted to see. They wanted to put them in positions. They had some guys missing, honestly, that we expect to be back for Missouri. And, when you're shuffling guys in and out, it's hard to keep a rhythm, isn't it?
Correct. Absolutely. And that goes for anything, but especially in football. You got to be able to just go over and over, just rep after rep after rep with, to get momentum, to get a feel for the game. And when you're shuffling in and out, it's not that guys aren't ready to play or anything. It just makes it tougher for you. That's all.
Okay, let's go to your area of expertise, the offensive line, which I thought was pretty good. The downside is one of the things I was really looking forward to this season was the return of Taylor Portier, and it lasted about, I think it was a 6 series when he went down.
Yeah.
We don't think it's good. It was actually the other knee. than what he rehabbed for a full year. We will find out probably from Chris Kleiman on Tuesday if it's season ending. I fear it was. Just awful. I can't believe the misfortune of this kid. Maybe he's got defective knees, but that is just awful to see a kid. And I tell you what, Brian, when he walked in the media room this week, I'm like, oh, he is thick. He's put together. He's not fat at all. He's a rock.
Right.
And to see him go down, you could see the anguish on the faces of his coaches as Kleiman and Connor Riley were both out on the field with him. But overall, give me your assessment of the offensive line.
I thought they played well. I mean, there was a miss on a, kind of a little game that got the quarterback destroyed one time early in the game, which that concerned me for a minute. Yeah. But I think that was more of offensive lineman. Trust me, I've been there. You get complacent. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, in a game that you're dominating, and all it takes is not moving your feet just a half inch, and somebody gets by you that should never get by you. But for overall, I mean, they kind of pushed them around like they should have, just kind of manhandled them. I think they did well. Look, the line is the key. It's always the key. This year, I think more than ever, because we have the weapons to be able to attack. I think we have the offensive game plan to be able to attack. So the line did what it was supposed to do in this game. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it being even better next game, because I just think we're going to be doing so much more that the dominance of the offensive line and what they can do will be on full display next week.
Yeah, KT Levinston got his eyes in the wrong place and went to help on the inside because he had no one in front of him and missed the linebacker on a delayed blitz that just had an open pathway to Adrian Martinez, and it didn't work out well for the Cats. But overall, I thought KT played pretty well. He is a different player. He is more athletic. He has lost weight. He has more explosion and pop to him. I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm encouraged by all of it. And like I said, it's one of those things where he saw it late, but he didn't move his feet, because if you move your feet and pass the guy to the inside, the very first thing that you are taught is to look outside, because as a tackle, there's never going to be a time where nobody's outside. That's just not going to happen. And when you get complacent like that, you just don't pay attention, and it is what it is. So, but for overall, the line is fine. I'm not worried about the line. No. I am literally not worried about the offensive line. That's just not what I worry about. So I think we are going to be fine.
If you want to see a textbook blocking scheme, go to the first play of the game for K-State. The line did it. The receivers did it. Deuce Vaughn blew up a guy, and Malik Knowles just did the rest with speed. That was a beautifully designed and executed play, which makes me very hopeful there's going to be more of that in the playbook for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just right out of the chute. I mean, couldn't believe it, but couldn't have been more overjoyed. It's just, hey, this is what we do. And again, if we're going to play like that and be physical like that and come out and just hit people right in the mouth like that, I mean, the offense, it's open season on what we're going to be able to do this year. I'm super excited.
Deuce Vaughn, 18 carries, 126 yards. Of course, leading the Cats that had the team had 297 rushing yards on 45 carries, averaged more than 6 a pop. That's pretty darn good. Adrian Martinez throwing the ball, 11 of 15, 53 yards. His long completion was 10. He was sacked 3 times. Jake Rubley came in and was 4 of 4, 42 yards. I thought Jake Rubley looked pretty damn good.
He did. He sure did. If this is the backup, he looked okay to me.
Yep.
I like what I see. I like what I see. Again, the opponent's the opponent, so all you can do is go out there and play your best against who you're playing against. I thought the kid did well.
Yep, absolutely. It was interesting because I asked Coach Kleiman at Tuesday's press conference, how he's going to handle this quarterback thing, because he wants to get the red shirt on Will Howard. And he said, well, if a helmet pops off, Jake Rubley will go in. And obviously this was, the same kind of thing. They wanted to bring in the backup. And as long as they don't really need him, they get 4 games to play him. They want to get that red shirt on Will Howard. Jake Rubley is going to be the backup. But I got to tell you, when you see a kid come in and his first opportunity to play and he looks like that, you think, well, we might be okay even if we can't play Will Howard much this season.
That's correct. That's exactly right. And, you know, to me, the backup quarterback coming in this situation, the first game right out of the chute that he's been in, you know, in this kind of situation, I thought he played well. I think we'll be okay. But, you know, if he does have to play, I just believe the other offensive weapons that we have are going to help him tremendously. We're just better. We're just better, Fitz. I know I keep saying that, and I've said it over and over, but we're just better than what we were. And that's going to help everybody.
Absolutely. It will. The passing game, they spread the ball around really well. They had 19 targets in the game. Malik Knowles was 3 and Cade Warner 4. Phillips Brooks had that one deep ball. And the rest were, well, I guess R.G. Garcia had one as the freshman came in. They had, 6 targets to tight ends and 1 to a fullback and 3 to running backs. They spread it all over the field, and I think when they get into a game and they throw it more, that will continue, although I think they'll go deep a little bit more. But that was fun to watch. Just everyone was in pattern, and you know me, I love throwing to the tight end, and they did that with some effect in the game. I'm still, you know, I was really anxious and eager to see what the Colin Klein playbook was like, and I sit here and it's like I got taken to the ice cream store and I got a single scoop of vanilla. You know, I want more, Dad. I want more. I'm like really, really excited to see this. But the little flirtations we saw with the passing game, I like how they're going to spread it around and spread the field with the throwing game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've always wanted. Spread it around, throw to the tight end. We'll go down the field more coming up this week. It's just what you said. It was just super, super vanilla. But, you know, first game, we just got to do what we got to do. Try to get out of there, work on stuff that you need to work on. You know, I like I said, I know at the beginning I said we have to work on the passing game. I'm greedy. I like to throw the ball down the field, you know, and like to see that. But this just wasn't the game for that. It just wasn't the game to be challenging guys down the field. And also, what you said, they weren't going to let us get over top of them and get behind them. They wanted to keep everything in front of them, which is fine, and that's what we did. But it'll be different next week because, you know, they'll bring tons of pressure from time to time. So we'll see. I'm excited, though.
I am, too. I'm looking at the tackle chart now for the Wildcats. Pretty impressive list here. I think there's roughly 30 guys on it, and, of course, that includes special teams. The top leading tackler for K-State was linebacker Austin Moore at 5, and true freshman linebacker Jake Clifton came in relief with 4. And they had 4 sacks. Of course, Felix Anyudike-Uzama had 1. Eli Huggins had a really impressive one. You want to double team King Felix? Well, that means you're leaving Eli in the middle all alone, and he threw a swim move at that poor center who's still looking for his jockstrap. Jalen Pickle and Brendan Mott in his first real action came in and had a impactful sack for the Wildcats, another defensive end. They played a ton of guys on defense. They even had some absences. Josh Hayes was out. So was Sean Robinson at linebacker. They're both expected back. And I wish they'd gotten action because they're both new to the defense as Division I transfers, but they're also both playing new positions, which is rather unique. Hayes moves from corner to safety. Robinson moves from safety to linebacker. But overall, the defense performed well. South Dakota moved the ball, some, but overall, I thought the defense looked really good.
Yeah, I did too. You know, we flew around, we played physical. It's like you said, we played a lot of guys, got a lot of guys experience. It was a typical first game against an inferior opponent that you're supposed to beat, and the defense did what it was supposed to do. Now, we've seen things be different in some of these games where teams scoring points, moving the ball, making us, you know, pull all our hair out with the hair that I don't have anymore. But this was different. And again, it's just different. We're just better. I as the first game goes, besides the one devastating injury to the offensive line, I think it was just a clean game to do what we needed to do. I liked it.
Very physical play by a couple guys on defense, most notably Kobe Savage, one of the new safeties. He's got anger issues. He's going to hurt someone. Kobe's a great guy. I flat out ask him, so do you like to hit? And he goes, yeah, it's my favorite thing. And the other guy that was laying some lumber was Julius Brents, who was not physical last year. So that is a huge step for him. And really, honestly, that was the one thing that he needed to add to his game to be NFL ready. And it looks like he came prepared to be more physical in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to need. We're just going to need, physical from everybody. But in those positions, defensive back positions, we're just going to need guys to be more physical. And 'cause that's how you win at the major college football level. That's how you win at Big 12 level. Yeah. I mean, you look at the tough defenses, they got secondary guys that will lay you out. And that's what you have to have it. You have to have it. And I think K-State's got that.
Absolutely. That's it for the first half of the Powercat Postgame Podcast, brought to you by Caddyshack Golfwear. Make sure you check out everything at Caddyshack Golf. And on the other side of this break, we'll hear briefly from Adrian Martinez. And coming out of the break, we will at least. And then we will continue our dissection of this game and peek ahead to the Cats and Tigers. So much was made of the backyard brawl. West Virginia and Pitt renewing a rivalry after 11 years. It's a bitter rivalry. Well, it's been 11 years for the Cats and Tigers. Maybe not as bitter, but these two schools have never really liked each other, and it all begins again on Saturday at the Bill. We'll be right back.
This is Kansas State's Daniel Green, the leaders in K-State sports coverage. We'll be right back with more of the Powercat Postgame Podcast.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
Is your January looking dry? Get some lotion. Get a humidifier. And better yet, get Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices across local stores to get the best price on a huge selection of drinks perfect for dry January. Every single time. Non-alcoholic wines? Have a look. Ready-made mocktails? Grab a straw and order them up. Beer without the alcohol? Yep, take your pick. You can find all of them here, in the app, in that phone that's in your hand. Could it be any simpler? Nope, not a chance. So shop for great deals on all your dry January beverages or other drinks and get them delivered to your door or blanket fort, maybe. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. And don't forget to lotion up your elbows. They're looking a little dry.
This is Kansas State's Felix and Udika Uzama. Welcome back to the Powercat Postgame Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network.
Yeah, it was a great team win. Special teams did a really good job. Defense did a really good job. And, you'd always prefer to learn after a win instead of a loss. So feel really good about that and just know that we could be a lot better.
How comfortable were you
I felt really good. First experience in the Bill, just taking what they gave us. I think they were not really wanting us to take deep shots and kind of playing off a lot, and our run game was working really well. And, you got to always kind of stay patient and take what they give you.
How much pressure does How's the shoulder feel after taking a few live shots today?
Good. Feel really good. That's why I was a little late up here. I was in the cold tub trying to get the body right. But again, felt good to get a hit. You don't really experience that in the offseason as a quarterback, so feeling really good.
How much downfield off after Malik goes 75 on the first play, and you have a playmaker making a big one for you?
Yeah, it's a great tone setter, right? And I think it got the crowd going, and it got our team going, and we were ready to play anyways, but having that one pop off the way it did was definitely a big help.
50,000 in that crowd. What was playing in front of Bill Snyder Family Stadium like?
It was awesome. It was a great experience. A new home for me, and that first third down, it kind of took me by surprise how loud they were. So I was excited about that, and my first touchdown as well. The ref had to warn me not to high five the crowd, which I should have known better. But good experience.
And welcome back to the Powercat Postgame Podcast. We're sponsored by Caddy Shack Golf. As I mentioned going into the break, that was Adrian Martinez, the new quarterback at Kansas State, talking about his performance and how things went on the field against South Dakota. Before we bring back in Brien Hanley, our football analyst, offensive lineman on the 97-98 K-State teams. Real quick, though, let's hear from Chris Kleiman about how he thought Adrian played in the game.
I thought he handled everything really well. For the first time, you guys are smart enough to know we changed a lot of things offensively. We were not what you saw last year or even some in the bowl. We were tempo most of the time, and I thought our operation was really good. I thought Adrian did a great job with the operational stuff. Obviously, we probably missed a couple of chances. Sometimes there was protection issues. Sometimes maybe we just didn't locate a receiver. But I thought he played really well, and I thought he played within himself. And, the one thing is we didn't turn the football over. And you don't turn the football over and you block a punt and rush the ball for 297 yards, good things are going to happen.
We're sponsored by Caddy Shack Golf, for K-Staters, by K-Staters, jackets, hats, polos, T-shirts, golf accessories. Caddy Shack Golf, where it's caddy with 2 T's. Visit caddyshackgolf.com. Use code GPC for free shipping on your next order. And one more reminder, folks, we're having an incredible special at GoPowercat.com right now. 75% off an annual subscription. To become a VIP member, get all access to everything we do. I know you listen to the podcast. Obviously, you're here. You probably watch the daily deliveries, and you probably read some of our free content. But the best stuff is always behind the paywall. A lot of the recruiting, behind the paywall. A lot of the team analysis, behind the paywall. You will get team coverage and recruiting coverage unlike you'll get anywhere else from the GoPowercat team. Please consider joining us and also join an incredible community of K-State fans that support each other. They have animated discussions sometimes about K-State sports, but they're always respectful. If you want more from your K-State community, your message board community, come on over to GoPowercat.com. 75% off an annual subscription right now. It's a limited time, so don't mess around. Head to GPC, GoPowercat.com, click the green join button, and it'll help you do the rest. And now let's bring back in Brien Hanley, our football analyst at GoPowercat. Brien, next week, everything gets ramped up. K-State, Missouri, these programs are going to go after each other. There's a little undertow between the two schools. I love it. Man, 11 a.m., Bill Snyder Family Stadium. It's on ESPN2, so it'll be a national telecast. Tell me, you played Missouri a couple times. What are your thoughts? What are your memories of playing the Tigers?
Well, the first year, 97, they weren't any good. So, and we were just kind of finding ourselves. We had just gotten our heads beaten in by Nebraska the week before. And I remember the whole message was, don't let last week beat you this week. That was the entire – I remember it like yesterday. That was the first time that anybody had ever said that to me before. And that's what Coach Snyder said. Don't let last week beat you this week. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. We can't change what happened to us. So the only thing that we can do is move forward. And we were all focused. At the Bishop ran for, I can't remember how many yards. It was like a K-State record. And I remember we just ran over them. The second year, Missouri was good. They were good. We went there. It was a trap game of all trap games. I mean, we hadn't beaten Nebraska in 29 years. We beat them. Then we have to go to Missouri, a good Missouri team, the very next week. I mean, we were better than they were, but we didn't necessarily play better. But I remember the atmosphere was electric. And you're right. They didn't like us. We didn't like them. But it was more of a jealousy thing, to be honest with you, because at the time we would just pick all the best guys out of Kansas City and St. Louis, and those guys would go to K-State.
Yeah.
And so it was just a jealousy thing that Mizzou was upset that we would do it, but it's, it is what it is. But the rivalry was there. It was definitely there. You could feel it, especially in '98. You could feel that rivalry. But I love playing in the game. I absolutely loved it. It was great.
What does Kansas State need to accomplish on the offensive side of the ball to make Brien Hanley happy against the Tigers?
Well, I'm going to say it every single week. Got to control the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Got to control the line of scrimmage. If you do, good things will happen. So if you control the line of scrimmage, you start there. The next, don't turn the football over and take your shots down the field, because we're going to be able to move it from here and there, but we got to take our shots down the field. And I don't mean, I know when some people think, you take your shots, mean it has to be 40 or 50 yards down the field. No. 15, 20 yards down the field. Just take your shots. 20-yard outs, 20-yard digs. You got to be able to complete those passes, or even seams, seam routes to tight ends. You just have to take your shots to loosen up the things, because teams are going to play the run against us. That's just going to happen. They're going to make us throw the ball to beat them. And I think we have everything capable to be able to do that. And I would like to see us do it early. And then that way we can just mow them over in the second half and say, hey, you've got nothing for it. Right. That's what would make me happy.
How concerned are you about Adrian Martinez?
I don't know that I'm concerned. I just didn't see a lot on Saturday to make me say, okay, everything's fine. I didn't see that. So I don't want to say that I'm concerned and get a bunch of people worried or be Debbie Downer. I just didn't see a lot. Now, 90% of that was by design. I mean, clearly it was. But we got to – I think you can't hold on to the football like that. And you can't tell me that we were all covered all the time on the times where he was holding on to the football. You'll never be able to convince me of that guys were just covered. You just got to go through the reads, throw the football, get it out of your hand. And it might take a game or two for him to understand, hey, there's not somebody running free at me as soon as I get the ball in my hand, right, like it happened in Nebraska. I mean, and that took years of happening. And for that to, so for us to want it to be out of the system immediately might be a little unrealistic, but he's going to have to do that for us to get to where we want to go.
Okay, defensively, what do you want to see from the Cats against the Tigers? Physical football. Because I saw a little bit of what they do, or what they showed the other day. I'm sure they've got a lot of other stuff, but they want to run it too. They got that running back that, the 5-star running back that they want to get the ball in his hands any way possible. Well, we've got to be able to match that. Again, control the line of scrimmage and just hit them. Just hit them and hit them. I want to see us running around, just playing extremely fast, run to the football. But if they make a catch, hit the guys. If they get a run, hit the guys. And tackle. Got to tackle. Yeah. In this modern era of football and the way the NCAA mandates the way you have to practice, you don't tackle a lot in practice.
No.
It's troublesome to me. How do you go out and do it in a game when you're not allowed to do it in practice? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's absolutely insane. I get the trying to protect people, but you have to be able to learn to tackle. You got to be able to tackle. And to be honest, some of it, the non-tackling comes from this crazy, targeting rule.
Right.
Because guys just want to launch versus wrapping up because you can't practice tackling. And so guys just launch, even though we could go on forever, and we have before with this targeting rule. It's the most insane rule in the history of college football, in my opinion. But that's what it is. When you don't practice it, you develop bad habits. Well, bad habits turn into missed tackles on Saturday football. That's just literally the way that it goes. And that goes for any level of football. But tackling always seems to be last that you do on defense. It's always the last thing that people do. Whether it's hand placement, foot, run to the football, tackling's always last. And to me, tackling is the most important thing on defense.
I agree.
So it's crazy.
I saw a targeting ejection this weekend on an offensive lineman after an interception. He had to run over and try to make a tackle on a defender with the ball. He ducked his head, but tried to lead with his shoulder and clipped him with his helmet, and they ejected him.
Yep.
And I'm like, this kid probably hasn't tackled anyone since high school football. What are we doing here? This just isn't even fair.
I don't know. I saw even a one that was even worse in the Penn State-Purdue game. It was a ball that you thought could have been behind the line of scrimmage, and the whistle, of course, didn't blow. The guy goes over to dive on the ball. He leads with the shoulder. Their heads hit, but he didn't dive at him. He didn't, he wasn't leading with his head. But I'm like, look, that's why you have on a helmet, because if they do hit, things are protected. I'm like, if you don't want people head to hit, if you don't want that to happen, then take the helmets off of people.
Right.
And I go, but then what kind of football do you have?
Right.
I'm like, it's going to happen. Heads are going to hit. That's just what happens. It's football. It's starting to get outrageous. You would think they would change the rule like they said they did, but first weekend they hadn't changed anything.
Yeah, they've got to get back to intent a little bit. If if you're taking a cheap shot, that's one thing. But if you're just making a play live action and helmets collide with people moving their target, what they're trying to hit, I don't know how. I'm just so frustrated.
Exactly.
So
it's
frustrated
crazy.
with football. Special teams. We didn't touch on it in this game from the South Dakota game. Chris Tennant, the place kicker, some problems. Missed a field goal, missed an extra point. But the other special teams are pretty good. We didn't see much from the return game because South Dakota did a good job negating that with how they kicked the ball. But they did get the block punt. They could have maybe had a couple others. Seth Porter was right there on about 3 punts and only got one of them. Give me your overall thoughts on the special teams and how important is that, as always, for Kansas State?
Always important for Kansas State. Until it changes, it's going to be an emphasis, and it's going to be extremely important. And if anybody ever changes it, that the coach at Kansas State, they need to be fired immediately. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. Having said that, got to make the extra points, got to make the field goals. We got to clean that up. The return game stuff will come. That kind of stuff, it just will come. But, you get into the course of the game, guys get tired on one side or another. That's how returns happen. And we put a tremendous amount of energy and effort into it. That's one of the things that we do. That's what we're known for. So that stuff will come. Field goals and extra point is something different. And you can't miss those. You can't miss the easy ones. The gimmies. You just can't. Can't do it. So we got to get that cleaned up. I think we will. Don't get me wrong, but we have to make sure that gets handled because that can cost you football games.
Absolutely. I was upset for Chris. I know he missed the bowl game, and then he has this happen to him. I think he's a good place kicker, but boy, when you've got that job, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent, and that's always been such a good, strong point of K-State football. Brien, the Big 12 goes 9-1. The lone loss being West Virginia in that rivalry game with Pitt. One that Neil Brown honestly just blew. I kind of thought it was his Paul Rhodes moment. He made some decisions late in the game and lost a game that they should have won because of it. But overall, this conference looks pretty stout. KU played a trash FCS team, but trashed them. And we know that can be good for a building program. We've seen it at K-State. So I'm not going to fault them for scheduling it and playing it, and they got something out of it. This conference is going to be pretty salty this year. I'm not looking forward to trying to get through this conference mostly unscathed. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I think Kansas State is one of the technically surprise teams, although they're not a surprise to me. I think they're going to be good. Just nationally, people aren't necessarily talking about them as much. But our road schedule within the conference is as tough as it gets. I mean, it's literally as tough as it gets. So the conference as a whole is going to be good. I'm excited to see the guys play, and have to deal with a little bit of expectation / tough schedule. I mean, because as the season progresses a little bit, we get a couple of wins built up here. People are going to expect us to be really good. Well, I like that. I know people try to shy away from it and say, hey, let's, stay under the weeds and surprise everybody. Nah, I'm just not a fan of always doing that. That's fine every once in a while, but it's fun to be the guy. That's fun to be the guy that people are trying to get after. They're hunting, supposedly. That's fun to be the hunted and to go out and then just knock people around. So I think we have to embrace that a little bit because it's like you said, Fitz, this conference, it's good. It's just good, man. It's good.
And there are some really entertaining games on the schedule for next weekend. You got Alabama at Texas. You got Houston at Texas Tech, so a future Big 12 game. Iowa State, Iowa. KU and West Virginia open Big 12 play. And then you look down here, we got Arizona State at Oklahoma State, maybe another future Big 12 game, and Baylor at BYU, a future Big 12 game. It's a really entertaining slate. I'm so fired up about this conference. I could give a rat's ass about Texas and Oklahoma, but I think this conference, even without them, is going to be pretty damn good.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I know a lot of people were panicked at the beginning of the season last year and basically for, a good 6 months, but then you turn around, neither one of them were in the Big 12 championship game. Neither one of them were worthy of being in the Big 12 championship game. And it was just fine. Somehow football continued.
Yep.
In the Big 12, they actually had a championship game. The teams went to big-time bowl games. I mean, that literally, it actually happened. So amazing what can happen when you're just not beholden to Texas and OU all the time. It's amazing the kind of things that can happen. I like where the conference is at. I really do.
One final thought before I let you go. You were in the house. Granted, I think you were in a suite, you big timer. But I'm in the press box, which is a pretty sterile environment. But the Bill was rocking. That felt like old times. And to have that kind of environment for that opening non-conference game that is typically kind of an FCS program was really cool. I know it'll be rocking for Missouri, but to have it for South Dakota, man, it was cool, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. I think it's people are excited. I really think that's what it is, Fitz. I think people, first of all, and I can be honest, the whole COVID thing put people in a bad, downward, kind of depressing mood. And even though we were back last year, sometimes it just didn't feel. Were we all the way back, really? I know everybody was allowed in, but were we really all the way back? And now I think it's just like, you know what? We're going to do what we're going to do. Life is either going to be normal or it isn't. And we're going to go have some fun at these football games. We're going to get loud. And it was great. And it wasn't just great at K-State. It was great everywhere. But at K-State, it's near and dear to my heart. It was super loud for a first game against, a FCS opponent. It was crazy. I loved it. Loved every second of it.
Absolutely. It was a really good day at the Bill. Next week, it's Missouri visiting K-State. 11 a.m. kickoff at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. The game is on ESPN2, so no more searching for the streaming channel. Brien Hanley, thank you so much. I'm glad you got back home safely. It wasn't easy. Traveling right now is kind of like climbing Everest.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
You just hope you don't fall into a crevice never to be seen again.
Exactly.
Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You bet. That is it for the first Powercat Postgame podcast of the season. We appreciate all the support from the folks at Caddyshack Golf. Make sure you go check out their website, I Am Fitz, and we will talk to you real soon with more from the GoPowercat podcast team.
Thank you for listening to the Powercat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.